There's a man history nearly forgot, a man whose idea reshaped the industrial world, whose invention affects almost every person alive today. Yet he died believing he had failed, but his twist of fate didn't arrive until long after he was gone. He was 30 years old when the door clanged shut behind him. A debtor's prison wasn't the kind of place reserved for criminals. In the 1830s, it was simply where you went when you owed money you couldn't repay. And this man owed plenty. His hardware business had collapsed. His wife and children were scraping by without him. And he sat alone in a cell, not thinking about how to rebuild his life, but thinking about rubber. At the time, rubber was a disaster of a material. It melted into sticky tar in the summer. It cracked like brittle glass in the winter. Manufacturers who tried to use it were left with warehouses full of ruined goods. No one wanted anything to do with rubber anymore, except the man sitting in that cold cell. He wasn't a chemist. He wasn't an inventor. He had no scientific training at all. But he'd once seen a rubber life preserver that had simply dissolved, and something about that failure lodged itself in his mind. Rubber had potential. When he was released from prison, he should have walked away from the idea. He had a family to feed, no money, no resources. Instead, he moved his family into poverty so he could experiment. He mixed rubber with magnesia, with lime, with nitric acid, with copper, with anything he thought might stabilize it. But it never worked. Summer heat destroyed it. Winter cold shattered it. Investors mocked it. Friends gave up on him. And more than once, the sheriff arrived to seize everything he owned and drag him back to jail. His obsession pushed his family to the edge. His wife took in sewing to feed their children. One child died young, a loss he blamed on his fixation with rubber. Still, he kept going. By 1839, nearly a decade into this crusade, he was sick, destitute, and exhausted. He had every reason to quit. And then fate stepped in. The man had been experimenting with a mixture of rubber and sulfur, a combination he suspected might be promising. One winter day, while demonstrating a sample, he accidentally dropped a piece onto a hot stove. Everyone expected it to melt into tar, but it didn't. Instead, the edges charred like leather, while the center remained flexible, elastic, stable. Heat, the very thing that destroyed rubber, transformed it. He didn't know the chemistry. He didn't need to. He'd finally found the secret. He spent months perfecting the process and patented it in 1844. The world suddenly had something new. Rubber that worked. It wouldn't melt, wouldn't crack, could be shaped, molded, mass-produced. It was a revolution. You would think this moment changed everything for him, that the man who solved rubber became wealthy beyond imagination. But fate had one more twist. Patent laws of the time were flimsy, expensive to enforce, and easy to violate. Manufacturers stole his process openly. They used his discovery to build fortunes, while he fought endless court battles he couldn't afford. Even when he won, collecting damages was nearly impossible. The rubber industry boomed, and he remained poor. Sick from chemical exposure, drowning in lawsuits, and buried in debt, he died in 1860 owing around $200,000, millions in today's dollars. His family was so broke that friends had to provide clothing for his burial. No obituary praised him. No industry he'd created honored him. He died believing he had lost everything. And then, 38 years later, strangers resurrected his name. In 1898, a businessman in Ohio founded a new tire company and wanted a name that symbolized innovation and grit, not because he knew the man, but because the name stood for relentless determination in the face of failure. He chose the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. The penniless man who died thinking he'd failed, the man who spent years in debtor's prison, who ruined his finances chasing an idea no one believed in, was Charles Goodyear, the inventor of vulcanized rubber. He never saw an automobile, never rode on rubber tires, never witnessed the world transformed by his discovery. But today, his name circles the globe on billions of wheels, a twist he never lived to see, yet one that ensures he's remembered forever. Thanks for listening to Twist of Fate Radio. I'm Angela Clark. Curious how fate works? Find more twists and share your own at twistoffateradio.com.